Like for us, it was like integration, not separation.
Welcome to the Hey Mama podcast. We're your hosts, Tessa and Shayna. We are sisters, mothers, and doulas and are passionate about living an intentional life and all things motherhood. This podcast exists to create community as we learn how to delight in motherhood together.
Join us weekly as we chat with women about anything and everything from non-toxic living to women's health to feeding our families and our favorite topic of all, birth. We are so glad you're here.
Hello and welcome.
Hello. We're so happy you guys are here. It's going to be a really fun episode. Before we jump in, we wanted to have our little mother moment. So Tessa, what was your mother moment of the week?
I would say my mother moment of the week was just a recipe win because I made, I will say, a delicious pot roast.
Okay.
And my husband was very impressed, and Sage, my son, was very impressed, and we had it actually for 2 meals. So
That's a big
2 nights
win.
of not cooking.
That's an amazing win. That's incredible.
Thank you. What was your mother moment of the week?
I've been using like magnesium lotion on River at night, and she slept like pretty good. She only woke up maybe 3 times, and I was like, "Thank you, Jesus!" It was amazing.
Big
So
win,
that was a big win.
Big win for River.
Rub that magnesium on, girl.
I love it.
That is so fun. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we have one of our very favorite people in the entire world, one of my dearest and oldest friends, as our first guest today on this show. So, KATRINA, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, we would love to start.
Yeah. Hi, I don't know why I waved, but I am KATRINA Abbott. I am a wife, a mom of one. I just had my first son last year, and we just celebrated his birthday. I'm also a business owner. My husband and I do photography and videography full time, and yeah, we're from Southern California, and I am so excited to be on this podcast.
We're so happy you're here. Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you. We love you
for
guys.
coming. All right. And you also have 2 dogs, right?
I have 2
Of your
dogs
own?
that I got from Shayna and Tessa, their family.
That's
They
crazy.
lived on a farm.
Become full circle.
I picked up 2 dogs, and they're super cute. They're like 11 years old now, which is crazy.
Wow.
It's so wild.
What?
Yeah.
That is insane.
I can't believe that. Are they the exact same age? Are they?
Yeah, because I got Dixie in April, and then I got Ryder in, I think, November.
That is crazy.
I
Yeah,
know.
we had a lot of dogs all at once having bebes. It was just a wild time.
It
I just wanted to
because we
take
had
them
all
all.
3 dogs. Yeah. They were so
They're so
cute.
cute.
I love it. Well, amazing. So, do you want to tell us just a little bit about your early life, a little bit about maybe just like meeting Jordan, early marriage, and then obviously you guys have a business together and kind of how you got there. So,
Yeah.
jump right in.
Yeah. We've been married for 6 years now, which is crazy because it feels like it was just yesterday. But we met in college when we were 18, which is also wild. But we were like acquaintances, like obviously, like not like super close friends. And then like 7 years later, I slid into his DMs. And, yeah.
What a brave girl.
I know. It was a really brave moment. And
I was gonna say I thought it was on Facebook Messenger.
It was.
From what I remember. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Even more
I think
old school right there.
That was like considered like, the DMs back then.
I love it.
We've been together for we've been married for 6 years. We've been together for almost like 7 or 8 years because I was like writing his Valentine's, and I was like, happy 8th Valentine, I think. So, yeah, so we've been together for a long time. But yeah, and we've always just like loved art and like photography and editorial work and drawing, and I think that's something that we just like love doing together. And we actually shot Tessa's engagement session first, and that like really kicked off like our like passion and like love for our business, because we just like love seeing like the connection between couples and like the authenticity, like that they can like choose each other like for the rest of their lives. And that was like a really cool thing to be a part of.
That is so cool.
So
I didn't know
like,
that.
Yeah. Yeah. She was the first one.
That is so cool. Yeah, no, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah.
I
Oh
knew,
my
I,
goodness.
I knew that. I did know that.
Mhm.
And we
I
did
know.
it. You guys had found that location, which was like the most beautiful location, and with
It
those
was
rocks
so
and the
cool.
cliff. But it was like next door to the Trump golf course, right? In
Yes.
right, wasn't it like next door
Mhm.
to it in?
Yeah. At
PV?
PV.
Yeah, I was like in Rancho
Hmm.
Palos Verdes. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so wild because then that's where our mom was raised, was in Palos
Yeah.
Verdes. So it's just so cool that
Oh,
like all
So
of that.
cool.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
That is
gosh,
so
I
that's
cool.
so cool.
But that feels like a really long time ago
That
now,
does.
like
It
super
does.
long. But
I know. I still look back
Wow.
at your guys' photos. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It was so fun.
I like, and the video, like, yeah, there was just so many. It was so beautiful. And
Um,
you guys got Jake comfortable, which was,
Mm.
great. And you got me comfortable, which was
Yes.
great because I'm probably even worse than him.
no, you were so
That,
easy.
No.
that's so cool. I guess I didn't realize it because you guys were such like pros already. Like you already had the cameras and like everything was so just like amazing what you already had. I was like, oh, it just never occurred to me that this was your first official, like our first engagement
Yeah.
shoot. That is
Yeah.
so cool. How
Yeah.
I
neat.
would say like credit to Jordan because he's like such a tech person that like he
Yeah.
like was like, this is a camera we gotta get, like at least starting out, and like this is the gear. He like
Yes.
So
has
good.
all of that like in mind, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm just like the dreamer, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, just give me the camera and I'll do it. So
Yeah,
I think like
exactly.
it's kind of cool. Like that's kind of like what I love like too about like being husband wife like in our business is like we have like different set of skills that we both like bring to the table.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's so neat.
Mhm.
Yeah, what a beautiful like partnership and unity, even more so in your marriage. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you guys work together, even though I feel like you, especially in the early days, that was something like all of us besties were like, okay, Jordan is literally you. Like, you guys are the two most like kind people
Oh.
ever, and you found each other and then you married each other. And I was like, how does that even work? Like, I just remember always asking you, like, do you guys ever fight? Like, there's no way you fight. How could he ever be mad at you? How could you ever be mad at him? Like, what voice would you even use? And you're like, no, Tessa, it does happen.
I feel like the
But
first
just-
year of marriage is always like you like push and push and push, and then the second year you start to like kind of like fight better,
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it. Fight better.
Yeah.
As one of all of somebody we all know, said one time at Jessica's bridal shower, and she was like, you just need to learn how to fight fair. And I think that
Mhm.
was some of the coolest
Mhm.
advice of like learning how to fight fair in marriage,
Yeah.
and not fighting to hurt, but
Yeah.
fighting to have an end goal in mind. So
Resolve. Mhm.
so amazing. Okay, so you were saying, yes, you guys got married, you were writing your
business.
Valentines, you're starting your business. I was the first
Yes.
engagement couple.
Yeah.
So
And we
cool.
like we lived in Monrovia when we first got married, and
Yes.
we lived on Olive Street, and we lived in this little bungalow, so that's how our company like name got formed, is the Olive Bungalow.
love
It was
that.
like our first home, and I just feel like it like fit us like so well and fit our
Yeah.
business, and it just kind of stuck. So
So
yeah.
cool.
It's the perfect name.
Yeah.
It sounds just like
Yeah.
you guys, warm and
know.
inviting, and
And
we know it's like a boho chic vibe in that bungalow. So it's like exactly what you want for your wedding engagement photos or anything, style shoots. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And do you feel like with just even because it's not a very common thing to be able to have like healthy, thriving marriage, but then also have like a healthy, thriving business. So just kind of like bringing those worlds together. And again, like, do you just feel like it's something that you guys have just really worked at, or just came naturally to you guys just in the beginning with just your personalities, or how do you feel like that has shifted over the years? Because now you've had the business together, how many years?
6 years. Just as long
6
as we've
years.
been married. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
And I
crazy
think-
that you started
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like we were just like, this is going to be like our passion project. And then like, we were like, I think we could start like this as a business. Like, and so we started like,
Seriously.
it was literally like it was Sarah's wedding, or Sarah and Drew reached out for
Mm-hmm.
an engagement shoot, and then after that, it was like a whole group of their friends, like all of them started getting married, and so we just like kept like booking like one after the
Yes.
other, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome! Like we love this. Like let's like keep growing and like keep pushing ourselves. So I think like too, like being a husband wife like team and like working together, like I think it brings like not just like it's easy to like be like, oh, that's my marriage, that's my business, but I think for us it's
Mm-hmm.
like easy like to combine them both because we just like love working together and we love being together.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, I don't
So
know, it's
cool.
probably, I think everyone does, but I just think it's like it felt so natural for us like to be able to just be like, okay, I'm gonna do photo mainly and he's gonna do video, which also helped like us both kind of stay in like different lanes within the same business.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, we were able to like support each other. So like if I have an editing question or like a technical question, he can help me. Or if he needs like
Yep.
2 cents on like a video edit or something like that, I can help him color grade or like help him like pick out scenes that I'm like, actually, I think that's a better scene, or like maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's not as great of a scene, or things like that. So I
Yeah.
think we we bring, I don't know what the word would be, but we just like want the best for both of our like
Mm-hmm.
work. So we're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's like help each other, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's very
that makes sense.
cohesive in everything you do. So like there's like a cohesion of like, okay, like there's this similar theme that we're
Mm-hmm.
going for in everyone. Like you guys are on the same
Yeah.
team. So you know, like we're gonna do photos and then we're gonna set up those photos to get a pretty good video then to put
Right.
into their, you know, wedding video or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's so neat.
Yeah.
Like you guys already on the same team. And then when you're like in the editing process or whatever, it's even more like a cohesion of like, okay, we're literally doing this together and Katrina's going to be editing and then
Yeah.
Jordan's going to be editing and then we're going to see how it all comes out. And that's so cool. So are you
Yeah.
primarily all photos and he is all
Yeah.
video? Okay. So that's a
Yeah.
really
Or
cool
he,
like difference.
yeah. And I think
Mm-hmm.
what we like about it too is like for us, we see this like as a gift to couples, because like when we got our photos
Mm-hmm.
and video back, like that was like such a gift, and we still look at them now, you know. And so
Yeah.
I think that's like also cool is like we don't have like the focus of like, oh my gosh, I just have to thrive, like I just have to like hustle and like it be about us. Like it's literally just like
Mm-hmm.
we want to like every time we do like a wedding or an engagement shoot, we always like pray like let's make this about the couple and like let's make it like a
Mm-hmm.
blessing to them in some way, because
Mm-hmm.
it's such a vulnerable like thing to have someone like take photos of you, you know,
Seriously.
even
Yeah.
though you're just like with your partner. You're like, wait, do I have to like put on a show, like, or do I have to like make it like this thing? And like for us, we've always just wanted people to just feel comfortable and feel like joyful and just like be in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's like one of the focuses like of our, that I think like makes our business work really well. It's like we just like try
Absolutely.
to make it about like the couple, you know,
Yeah.
And you
not
guys are
like,
both so good at that.
thank you, thank you.
But no, you are. You're both like just so good at like making people feel comfortable, making people feel welcome, and just being this calm, genuine, kind presence. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
such a gift that you literally you both have. And of course, it comes out differently, male versus female. But it's like it's just such a
Literally.
cool thing that you both have these beautiful like strengths that way of like the most joyful, kind people literally inviting you into like,
Thank
okay, we're gonna
you.
take your photos on your happiest day. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
easy. I do feel pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys, like Detesta saying, like you have such a peaceful presence that when
Yeah.
you're going into one, an intimate space, but then also a stressful space, like your wedding
Yeah.
day is a lot of times not the most relaxing day of your life, unfortunately. And so the fact that you can come in and like be that presence and kind of like give that bride like a little, oh, like, okay, like I can do this. And
Right.
Katrina's here and like with her graceful kindness, like she's kind of like, okay, like, because you also can be like, okay, like, you know, mother-in-law or mother or, you know,
Yeah.
aunt that's there for some reason, like, hey, I need a moment alone with the bride. And you also have that
Yeah.
power to kind of be like, okay, like we're going to get you alone. You take a minute,
Yep.
you take a
Take a
breath, drink
breather.
some water.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's such a cool, like you're in someone's space and you guys do it so
Yeah.
well and so beautifulely. So I
Thank
think that's
you.
such a gift. And what a gift you are to all these couples. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I know we've seen it a lot
Thank
firsthand. You did our sister's wedding and we've seen all
Oh,
of the
thank
different
you.
friends' weddings.
Yeah.
So your guys are awesome. You do that very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
Well, then let's go just to the next question we kind of had for you, which was in line with this theme of marriage and business, but then also you had Jones. So in the midst of that and kind of in the midst of COVID, I know you were pregnant in the middle of COVID and then delivered kind of at like the end, you know, whatever that means. So kind of like how did that transition work for you guys? And then how did you still manage your business? Because I know you guys are still doing it with Jones. Like how did that integration happen and work for you guys?
Totally. We like started, I think I'll just say like with COVID, I think that was like a challenge in the sense of like resources as far as like figuring out like for the birth portion, like figuring out like techniques and things for birth. Like we watched like a lot of YouTube videos, like stuff like that, where it was like you couldn't go to classes and different things like that. So it made it a little bit difficult as far as like trying to figure out like where you find those resources. But it also helped us like feel more confident and being like, let's do our research before we just like decide like off the cuff, like, oh yeah, that's recommended, I should do it. You know, like, and that really kind of helped, like with COVID kind of challenge our thinking.
Awesome.
But yeah, with birth and like having Jones and with our business, like integration, like we started talking about having a baby around like 2020, end of 2020. And then it took us like 9 to 10-ish months or so. And then we got pregnant and we were just like stoked. But I was just like,
we all were stoked.
Yeah, we were
so many tears.
Yes, literally. And it's been like kind of like, I think I told you this before, like when I found out I was pregnant, but it was like the timing of like our business. Like I was working full time at a university also, and I was working there for almost like 2 or 3 years or so. And it was like a week before I found out I was pregnant, Jordan and I like had just like hit a milestone in our business where I was able to like match my salary with like our business, and which was awesome. And we're like, okay, once we hit that goal, then I'll quit my full-time job and I just do full-time photography. So I did that and we were so excited. And then that following Monday, I decided like, okay, I'm going to tell my boss, like I'm going to quit and we're just going to do full-time and jump like feet first. That Sunday, the Sunday before the Monday I quit, I was at church and our pastor was like talking all about like canceling fear of like finances, canceling fear of your future, like canceling just like it was like a whole series. But when I left, I was like, okay, like God, you have this. And like I just left with so much peace knowing like God, you have like our finances, like you have like our future, like with like the baby, because I didn't know I was pregnant. And then that lunch I was talking to Jordan, we were just like reflecting and we're like, shoot, like I think I'm kind of late. And then like out of the spur, like for the moment I was like, let's just get a test. And then we went home, took a test, I was pregnant, and I was like, wow, the timing of this like couldn't have been anything more than like the Lord, because I feel like it had to like be the decision, like we had to like make that decision to quit before I found out I was pregnant, or else I would never have jumped in full like feet, because I feel like, or both feet in, because I feel like to me I would have been like, well, my insurance, like all the safety of like a full-time job. So I think like the risk of like being like, I'm pregnant, I'm like trusting like that the Lord's going to provide for our future, like with this baby, you know, and everything like that. And I just felt like God couldn't be any more clear, like, hey, I got you, like literally do not worry. And he has. Like last year we did 22 weddings with Jones, and it was like the wild, and we did 10 flights with him. Like our goal, like since we like had Jones and being like prepping, like as like prepping while I was pregnant, was like, we don't want to like separate our lives. Like I think like so many moms, like, and maybe I'm rambling, but like so many moms will be like, hey, you're gonna be pregnant, like you're gonna have a baby, your life is gonna change, like just like I kind of like with this background of like fear. And to
Yep.
me, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I never want that. Like, I don't want that. I
Yep.
find this
Mhm.
like, I see him as like such a gift. And so I'm
Mhm.
like, it's
Yeah.
going to be challenging. And obviously it has been. But like,
Right.
I've never like once like been like, I don't want this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I
And
love
so I
that.
think
That's
our
such a
mentality was,
cool encouragement. And I'm sorry.
yeah.
That's
And
just
like,
such a cool encouragement to moms to hear. So keep going
Yeah.
with what you're saying. So neat.
yeah, I think like for us, it was like integration, not separation. So like integrating
Ooh.
our lives with Jones and like not separating, like, okay, he's like here, like he has to do his own thing while we do our own thing. Like we can
Yep.
travel and like leave him by. No, like to us, it was like, let's like figure out how to like bring him along on our trips. Like, so my mom would come, like when we would travel out of state and different things like that. And honestly, I think like it was like really cool. And he was newborn, so it's not like he understood everything, like what was going on. But like, I think for me, like I've always wanted to be like an example for him, like, hey, like chase after your dreams and like take the
Mm-hmm.
risk, like don't be like afraid. And that's like the example that like both Jordan and I want to like set for him as
Mhm.
parents. So just like
So neat.
I don't know, I think like business and like family, like you can integrate it as long as like you have
Yeah.
a good like foundation, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
That is
it's
so
been, like a
cool.
wild ride. Yeah.
Well, it's just such an
And I think
encouragement that no, keep going. I keep cutting you
no,
off.
no,
It's me.
you go. You go. You go. You go.
'Cause
You go.
it's just such an encouragement to young families who are in a similar stage of life as you, who are like either always waiting, right? They're always waiting for the perfect timing with whether it's marriage, to have a baby, set up with finances, to start the business, to take the plunge, to quit the job. And it's like, that is such a just cool encouragement of like, you're young, you guys got pregnant, you quit the job, the Lord truly blessed you
Yeah.
in that year, maybe more than ever. And you were able to kind
Yeah.
of handle and juggle all these different aspects of it, but yet you got to bring him along and you didn't have to have that
Yeah.
separation. And yet you looked at it as a joy. So that's just like, what a refreshing
Yeah.
perspective. And something that we always say too is like, we want our babies to be in our life, like
Yeah.
for them not to
Yeah.
rule our life, obviously, and for us to not be
Right,
separated,
right.
but for us to be together. And
Mhm.
that starts with so
Yeah.
many things of just like eating together, right? And just
Yeah.
all those practices that you can
Yeah.
start to have. But so cool that even your mom got involved with
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
helping out, and that just that generational like example was so
Mhm.
Yes.
neat. So that's
Yeah.
such a cool
Yeah.
like different part of your guys' story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool too with you guys because you have what is it 4 generations living in your house right now?
Mhm.
Is that how many it is?
Yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah.
So even deeper on like a
Yeah.
deeper level of what
Yeah.
an amazing generational integration of like your grandma, so Jones's great grandma,
Yeah.
she is in his
Yes.
life cooking him, amazing little
Everything.
treats and goodies and he's sitting on
Yeah.
her lap and eating from her. And that's such a beautiful
Yeah.
gift and something I feel like, especially in American culture and especially in Los Angeles, we've kind of like
Mhm.
lost of like
Mm.
family is a part of everything we do. And you guys are already laying that
Totally.
foundation of like, we are all together. We're all on the team. We help one another out.
Yeah.
We're loving each other.
Yeah.
We're cooking and caring and family is truly what there is. Like we're all in this together.
Mhm.
And that is so
Yeah.
neat. I've never even thought about that, of like how you guys are literally laying that foundation. So he knows that
Mhm.
that's what family is. That's
his
one
norm.
day.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's such a
Yeah.
beautiful gift. How amazing.
I know, and I feel like it's so cool because I mean that's kind of how I grew up too. Like with just like
Right.
having my grandparents, having my aunts, like living all in the same house, and like
Mm.
for him to have that too, and like be close with our family, and not feel like, oh, I can't leave him here because he's like not close to someone, like
Right.
I feel so comfortable and like so grateful that I have like my family as a gift, and
Mhm.
that we can trust them and that we can just be like, his routine is not different, like every day,
Right.
like they're here and he's there. So they know exactly like how to integrate like his routine with our routine, like, and with what we want him to be doing and things like that.
Mhm.
Obviously, like maybe don't feed him so many cookies, but like, there's like different, there's different
Just
things that
biscotti.
like we like. Yeah, just biscotti, no cranberries
Every
but
morning.
Yeah, a couple nibbles. But yeah,
It's
So
the
it's
best
definitely like,
biscotti.
It is. It's so good.
It's the
so
only
good. And she,
biscotti I like. I don't eat any other biscotti, but your grandma's biscotti. It's so good.
it's really good. Yeah, she just made some just for Jones where like she
Uh,
doesn't have the cranberries in it because I got nervous that he was gonna choke on them. So I was like, "Can you take them out?" And she was like, "Oh yeah." So she just made like a whole like box
oh.
thing for him, but he like doesn't eat it that much, just a few bites.
Just like a little bit with his coffee in the morning. He's like, come on over
He
here, mom. Let me
does.
sit on your lap.
He does. I like dip my
Dunking it
coffee,
in.
and he's like on the other side, and he goes just running over to you know, over to me.
Crawling, shuffling. I love it. So cool. So neat.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, do you feel like there's well, obviously you have tons of encouragement and you've already shared a lot of encouragement, but just maybe something that you would have been good for you to hear, just kind of at that kind of like at the crossroads where like, okay, we're gonna have a baby. We're also like in the prime of our business and everything's just kind of exploding
Yeah.
together. Is there just some maybe an encouragement to a mama that might be in the same season or transition that you kind of feel like you could
Yeah.
give?
Yeah. I feel like what I was gonna say earlier too is like my day to day is like so different. And your day
Mm,
to day, like with a mom and then like being home, like working at home, like full time, I feel like to me it's like you have to like the word is like flexible and grace. Like I think it's really easy to like scroll on Instagram and like see these moms that are like thriving in their business within the first
yeah.
year of like giving birth and I'm like, geez, like how do you do it? Like I just don't
Yeah.
know. Like for me it just like I feel like we did the best that we could, but like I just told myself like I'm like Grace, like this whole year I have to have grace for myself and I don't want to miss
Mm,
like his like moments, like he's like
yeah.
more important than like me like trying to like boost something on my business. Like God's going to
Yeah.
provide with that like and I'm just going to be consistent, but like I I didn't want to like miss like things with him. So I think I just gave myself grace,
Mm,
like whether that was like in the day, like I couldn't like do a lot of editing. I couldn't do a lot of like
mhm.
housekeeping stuff within our emails and marketing and things like that. So I decided like at night, like when he goes to sleep, I'll just work then and like do as much as I can, ask people to help me, like
Mhm.
hire people on and like also help us like within our business. And that's kind of what we did was like we had people help us like kind of with our day-to-day businesses. Sorry. And then like at night I could edit and like do all those different things so that we can like be better parents and like also be better business owners. And now that
Yeah.
he's like a year and like his sleeping is a little bit better at night, like I mean it's not the best, but like we can get like a good solid couple hours before we
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
to like wake up. So yeah, I think like grace and like flexibility has been like the biggest thing for me and like not like putting too much pressure to be like a certain like level or at a certain
Yeah.
caliber as like a first time
Hmm.
mom because like as a first time mom you don't know what to expect. You can only be
Right.
like what you were saying, Tessa, like you can only be so prepared and
Yeah.
Mhm.
you can only like you can only put so much pressure on yourself before you're like I can't do this and you don't want to be at
Yeah.
that point either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um that was kind of like that I guess that's like kind of a thing that like we like would tell ourselves and also just like not like being afraid
Mm,
to like lose something or lose an opportunity. um
Hmm.
I think that's like it's like the FOMO of like business is
yeah.
like you fear like you're gonna miss out like on this feature or something like that. And I'm
Yeah.
Mm,
like, no, like, is that more important? Like, I'm not saying like don't thrive in your business and just sacrifice that in order to just be with your baby. I'm saying there's like kind of a way for both, but like
Yeah.
figure
yes.
out that balance and don't like feel guilty when you do not hit like those goals, on
Absolutely.
either side, as a mom or even as a business owner, because
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
I like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm rushing out on him in order to do this, so then you feel
Mhm.
guilty on both ends. You're
I
like, shoot,
know.
what do I do with this? So
Right.
it's such a balance, and I don't think I can only tell you so much, but like I think you figure your own balance out as a
Yeah.
mom, and you figure out like your own like boundaries for like, hey, is it worth taking this job? And I'm not going to spend time with my son, but I'll be
Right.
able to like provide for my family. Or,
Right.
you know, the other way around. Like, I don't think that is worth leaving him, you know? So we have to like, we've had to adjust like different things in our business, like our pricing, our time, and like different things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And with
I don't know
that,
if that answered your question. But yeah.
Yes,
no, that totally
absolutely.
did.
Oh, okay.
And with that, like, how did the postpartum? You're still in postpartum, you know, postpartum goes on, but
Yeah.
in those initial, you know, newborn months, how did you do it? Did you just, you know, plan that you were only going to do local jobs? Like, I know you had, didn't you have like a job when he was like a few months old, and your mom went with you, and but it was local, like in
Yeah.
California? Did you do like any big out of state jobs, or were you like, okay, we're going to be purposeful, you know, we know his guest date is around this time, so we're going to just for the next few months block out those times, and then when we do start taking jobs, we're going to just take them locally? Or how did you guys do that? Or you're like, okay, we're going to have some depending on the clients of like, we're going to go to Virginia for this one and then stay locally for this one. Like, how did you guys kind of manage that?
Well, like for weddings, like everything is booked like a year in advance. So like our 2023 was booked in 2022. So like we prepared for it knowing I was pregnant, in the sense, I mean, you can only prepare so much because I had no idea what postpartum was going to be like. And then once I did get to when he was born, my first job was like at 2 months, but it was a wedding. It was a wedding in La Jolla. So we ended up like, we were like, okay, I don't want to be too far, just because like he was nursing so much and I was like still breastfeeding. I mean, I still am, but like he was like way more attached and like needed it almost like every hour. So I pumped like the week before, like every day. And I would just like have bags like in the freezer. And then the day of, like, that he needed to be watched. So we rented an Airbnb in La Jolla, and my mom was able to stay there. And that was like a gift. And then we just like brought my frozen milk and brought bottles. And she was able to like feed him, like, and then put him down for his naps and different things like that. But it was like so much more of like a full-time like job, because like the schedule that we had was like every 45 minutes or every 30 minutes, like he was on off, like going to sleep, drinking, going to sleep, drinking. So it's like that gave me anxiety, because I'm like, shoot, like I feel like I need to pump and I need to give him that, but just letting that go and like trusting my mom could do it, you know. And she was awesome, and he did great. And then like during the wedding day itself, like that was like something that I had to prep for. So I asked like other photographers, I was like, how do you guys do it? Like as moms, like, cause if I don't pump, like my boobs like feel like they're going to explode. So I'm like, what do I do? And they're like, just pump through your job. Like tell your bride. So I just like told our brides, I was like, hey, I'm pumping. And I would just like pump while I was shooting. I had like the stride thing, so it was like to go, like you could just take it everywhere. And I would just pump when I was shooting, or I'd go in the bathroom and like pump for a couple of minutes, and then like had a freezer bag and just like stored it, and that would like help me also for the next wedding. So just like kind of thinking ahead of like, okay, I'm prepping my like stash for the next weddings. And then as he's gotten older, it's been like less and less that he's needed so much. So yeah, so just like a little different rhythm, but yeah, that's kind of like how we like structured it with like the newborn and like postpartum phase, and like also healing and stuff. Like I was like, shoot, like I don't know, you know, how to navigate it with like my healing, but I was like pretty healed up by the time I started that job too. So that made it easier.
Yeah. That is good. And yeah, that's such a, because your milk hasn't regulated at that point. So you're like, they are just feeding a lot, and it's the nursing, feeding, or the nursing, sleeping, and then that's that cycle. Like that's literally like all they do. Sometimes you can do some tummy time, but they're little infants. So excuse me,
They're
so
newborns
small. And that, Yeah. So that is a
Yeah.
hard, like that 2 month, especially because I feel like they go through growth spurts, and it's like that's such a big
Yeah.
change in their time. So that you were managing that and just like emotionally, and the first time being away from your baby, but yeah, what a gift that your mom could be there with him. But that's still, 8 hours where you were away from him, and juggling that and pumping, and kind of like your body getting used to not being with the baby that has been inside of you for 10 months and then on you for basically 2 months, so that had to be a good transition, or a big transition, but that's encouraging, I think, for other moms. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like then
And
when you get home, it's like all you want to do is just like cuddle him and like hold it,
Yes.
So I'm like, that's all I did
Yes.
like through the week. I'm like, I'm taking this whole week. And it's nice, like we have one day versus like every day. So I'm like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like one big full day, and then it's that.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
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 Very, very helpful.
Mhm.
I think just like for moms, just to kind of recap back what you had said, with just really looking at every situation with, okay, what decision am I going to make with business, but then also with my baby, right? And you're also juggling a marriage as well. But there's just kind of like you're choosing priorities every single day, and those priorities might shift a little bit as developmentally he grows and different things like that happens. But it's just really cool to see that that's how you're making those decisions. And sometimes they were moment by moment. It wasn't that like, you're like, okay, we're going to put Jones first this, next 6 months. And it's just going to be that. It's like you had to look at each wedding, each shoot, and just kind of be like, okay, what does my son need in this? What do I need? And how can I kind of work my business into that? So it just seems like your heart shifted a little bit of just like from, business, you guys have this beautiful, wonderful business together, but you also now have a son, and you guys really want to prioritize that. So it's so just cool to see and pretty. And I think it's a really good way that you did it. It's so balanced. And it wasn't just some like firm, decision that you made, like so final. It was just like, okay, it's moment by moment.
Yeah.
And you're figuring it out.
And that's what motherhood is, right? It's moment by moment, and it's being flexible and having grace. Like, okay, like I committed to this and I said I would, but I don't know if I can't do it.
Right.
And giving yourself that grace of like, okay, like I need to take a step back, or hey, Jordan, like this one you might be on your own, or we're going to have to get a second shooter, and I'm stepping away. And so I think that's such a beautiful flexibility that you guys have had to integrate, and you've done it. And so that is a big encouragement to other moms of like, have grace for yourself. Release some of those expectations of, Instagram is not the real world.
Yeah.
Like leaning on people too has been like such a big thing, like especially our family and like Jordan and just like other people within our community who are also moms. It's just like helpful to be like, they did it, and like seeing that and being like, okay, we can totally do it. Like, I think like traveling like out of state was like a challenge, but like we just told ourselves like we can't be like hard, like we can't like be like this is not gonna work because he's not in his bed, like he's not in like his own sheets, like things like that. I'm like, he's got to be flexible. We got to be flexible, like make it like as comfortable as we can. But
I was going to say, we're going to have you on probably 2 more times to hear the birth story and to hear how to travel
with a baby
on 10 airplanes in a year. Because honestly, so many tips. That would be huge.
Be incredible.
From infant to toddler.
Seriously.
What you guys use, because you guys are already efficient by yourselves, but then you added in a child.
Yeah. Who has to be entertained. And you're not going on short flights. And then when they start crawling, when they start getting mobile, oh my gosh.
And then choosing the flights based on like developmental age and everything like that. Don't get us started. Crazy.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I think like now, like that he's older, I'm like, we have another trip. We have a couple of trips coming up this year. And I'm like, shoot, I don't know how we're going to, like, we just need to get a ton of Disney boards or like something where like he can like focus on stuff. Cause I'm like, he's going to be he's so much more mobile. Our last flight, I was like, wow, this one was rough because he was way more mobile. But the nice part about that newborn phase and up until like, I feel like it was 8 months, like he was so chill in the plane. Yeah. Like just like great. He's better in the plane than he is in the car, but yeah.
I love it.
And that's through that if you want them.
We want to hear those. KATRINA will be back on our show for tips on how to travel with a toddler and a newborn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, KATRINA, thank you so much. Thank you for giving up your time. We know you're busy with Jones and your business, but we so appreciated you being on today and talking and being an encouragement to other mamas. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
In so many different ways.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Like you just touched on so many points that were so neat to just kind of hear and discuss. And even as your best friend, it's like, oh, I'm hearing that in a new light. And it's just so neat. So I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cool. And then, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I loved being on here. I love just talking to you guys. You guys are the best. I did feel like we were just like hanging out. I'm like, okay, cool. I did cover my side of the screen because I just hate looking at myself while I talk. So I'm like, look like you guys.
Oh my gosh.
You look beautiful. You look perfect. Yeah, thank you. And then before we go, how can people like follow you or follow your business and like your website? So it's the Olive Bungalow, but if you like want to give like your handle or whatever, however you guys like people to reach out.
Yeah, our Instagram is the Olive Bungalow. Our website is theolivebungalow.com. So if you have a wedding, if you need family shoots, maternity, we can cover all of that. Yeah.
So cool. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having us.
Thank you, KATRINA.
For me.
No, it's you representing the Abbotts. And the whole family there who's having a party without you.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So fun. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Mama. We're so thankful you decided to join us today, and we hope you go forward in your day feeling encouraged and seen.
Here are a few ways you can connect with our community and support the show. The first way is to share the show with a friend via text or Instagram. You can follow and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And finally, follow us on Instagram at 4MamaBirth.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode.